welcome to the classes of Shiksha Angan Senior. So, like previous classes, again we will discuss a new course code MES 016 Introduction to Educational Research. This paper, this course code is totally based on the research section, educational research. What is research? What are the steps of conducting research? Then what types of research, sampling, and which methods are to be followed for conducting a research, and what is knowledge, etc. This will be discussed in this course code. So we will move to our discussion without wasting any time. So we will discuss Unit 1, Block 1. Block 1, Unit 1 from MES 016. Unit 1, Nature of Knowledge, Tradition, Sources, Social Reality, and Research Purposes. Knowledge, Nature and Tradition. Now, what is knowledge? Knowledge is understanding how human inquiry and philosophical tradition shape scientific knowledge. Knowledge is how the human inquiry, human means whatever wants to know, and the philosophical tradition which is being related, which helps to shape our scientific knowledge. This is knowledge. So what is knowledge? We discussed in the previous slide. Now we will discuss about the types of knowledge. There are 4 key types of knowledge. First is declarative knowledge, knowledge of fact. Knowing what? It is generated through research, public, verifiable, and logically consistent framework, consistent across context. So this is the declarative knowledge. Declarative knowledge means knowing what you want to know, what we want to know, which is generated by research, public, verifiable, and logically consistent across context. Second is functioning knowledge. Knowledge of performance, how to perform an activity, how to perform a research, or how to perform a work, etc. This belongs to functioning knowledge, rooted in declarative understanding, but it is put into practice to solve real problem. Although functioning knowledge is rooted in declarative understanding, but it is put into practice for solving real life problem. Third is procedural. Skill-based knowledge execution. Particular skill. For example, skill of riding a bicycle, skill of driving a car. The skill means procedure for performing an activity. For performing an activity, what procedure you will have to follow, or what are the procedures are to be maintained for performing any activity. So just try to remember the keyword procedure. If you remember the keyword procedure, then automatically the procedural knowledge, the concept of procedural knowledge will become clearer to you. If you try to remember the keyword, then the whole thing will become easier for you to learn and to memorize. Okay, so what on which aspect procedural knowledge focuses? The focus is given on executing correct sequence of action with practical competency. So the focus is given on performing the correct sequence of action with practical competency. Last is conditional. It combines the procedural skill and high declarative rules to inform that what actions to take under specific condition. So here there is a combination of procedural skill and high declarative rules to inform to inform the others or to give information that what action have to be taken under specific condition. Philosophical traditions in inquiry. Next we will discuss philosophical traditions in inquiry. Here cognitive standards and conceptions of truth are shaped by three core tradition. By following the three core tradition, these cognitive standards and conception of truth are shaped. First is rationalistic tradition. Rationalistic tradition is that knowledge which is derived through deductive reasoning based on self-evident truth. Based on some self-evident truth. Knowledge is derived through deductive reasoning. For example, mathematics. Because if you see the formulas or the steps which are followed to solve a problem in mathematics, so that steps and that formula, these are all evident and these are all true. It cannot be changed, and we the individual also cannot change because it is made by those uh, mathematicians, by those legendary persons. So we can't change that, and it is absolute and it is true. So we can't make any sorts of modification in the formula or in the procedure, but we can, but how that problem can be executed in a very easier way, that is upon our hand, that we can decide it, but we can't think or we can't make any modification in the formulas of mathematics. Second is empirical tradition. Empirical tradition means knowledge which is gained through experience, by going through certain experiences, because the knowledge which is gained, we gain knowledge by going through certain experiences. Systematic sensory observation and inductive generalization. And it is a fact that we gain our knowledge through experience. So knowledge which is gained by going through experiences, that is known as, that falls under empirical tradition. Then systematic sensory observation and inductive generalization, these are also part of empirical tradition. Last is pragmatic tradition. In pragmatic tradition, stress is given upon controlled experimentation for resolving practical problems. Experimentation, we trying continuously to solve any problem. You failed in one step, okay, then let's try the second step. If you failed in second step, then let's try the third step, fourth step, fifth step. This process, that process of trying and undergoing this for resolving not only a particular problem, for resolving any sorts of problem. This falls under pragmatic tradition. Now next we will discuss primary sources of knowledge. Now, what are the primary sources of knowledge? Personal experience and custom. It is also a source. Experience like daily observation. Daily observation guides our practical living, although it remains valuable in novel situation. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes experience also remains valuable in certain situation. Then custom and tradition, it represents accumulated historical wisdom. Accumulated historical wisdoms are represented, but it can become scientific, unscientific or outdated over time. But any in a certain time period, historical wisdom also becomes unscientific or also becomes outdated, because a certain custom or ritual which is being practiced during the historical period, so there is no surety that that will be continued in the near future also. So after a certain period of time, it becomes unscientific or outdated. It becomes outdated, and it's the fact. Reasoning and science. Deductive reasoning. Syllogistic move from general premises to specific deduction. This is called deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning means move towards, it's a syllogistic move from general premises towards specific deductions. And next is inductive reasoning. Builds generalization from specific systematic observation. From any specific systematic observation, it helps to build a certain generalization. So also one thing I also want to share with you, that this deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, uh, question also comes from this deductive and inductive reasoning, especially in competitive examinations. So please try to learn it very carefully. And especially question also logical reasoning portion from the in those who will give EGC net in the near future. So I also want to tell them that questions are also asked from this inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning also, because from the logical reasoning portion in paper 1, each and every year a question, one or two question, maybe three question or three or four, whatever number of questions are there, is repeated from this deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. So learn it very carefully and make the concept, and try to make the concept clearer, and to make this you have to learn in detail from your book and from other sources also. Okay. The next we will discuss the scientific method combines inductive observation and deductive logic into hypothetico-deductive paradigm. So in scientific method, the inductive observation and deductive logic are combined into hypothetico-deductive paradigm. Scientific method steps. Now there are some steps in scientific method. First step is problem and theory. It identifies research questions grounded in existing theoretical framework. These steps are also followed in case of research work. So first step which is mentioned here is problem and theory. So at first we have to identify the research questions which is grounded in existing theoretical framework. Second step is formulation. to operationalize the variables and frame testable research and null hypothesis. Hypothesis framing is also very important in conducting a research, because based upon this hypothesis, the result of the research is also equally dependent. Third is data collection. Execute study design. In the third step, we have to execute the study design. We have to gather data and test the null hypothesis. And listen, whether after collecting the data, then only each and every time the hypothesis will be null, there is no surety. The hypothesis can be accepted, or sometimes it also happens that after collecting the data and analyzing the data, sometimes it also happens that hypothesis also gets rejected. The hypothesis will be rejected or accepted, or whether it will be null hypothesis, that discussion or that issue is completely dependent upon the collection of data, analyzing of data, and obviously upon the research work. Fourth step, evaluation. So after identifying research question from the research from existing theoretical framework, then by formulating the variables, testable research, null hypothesis, then after collecting data and collected data and tested the null hypothesis, in the last step we will now what is the last step? Evaluation. Now we have to evaluate that whether that null hypothesis will be accepted or rejected. What I have discussed just now, that null hypothesis will always be accepted. There is no issue in that, or there is no word that the hypothesis always will get accepted. Sometimes hypothesis also gets rejected, and that will completely depend upon your data collection and framing of variables and all this. It is completely dependent upon them. So in the evaluation step, in the last step, during the time of evaluation, we will see that whether the hypothesis will be accepted or rejected, or refine the underlying theory. So these are the steps which are followed in scientific method. Other steps are also there that you will get in detail in your book, and after seeing the book, if you read the book carefully, then the concept will become more clearer to you. Conception of social reality. Now, what are the conceptions of social reality? Objectivist perspective. First is objectivist perspective. It views social reality is viewed as an objective structure by existing independently of individual perception. Here, emphasis is given on universal laws and cause-effect relationship, and aligns with quantitative paradigm and positivist methodology. So, in case of objective perspective, if you want to memorize them in a very easier way, you just remember the key word: universal laws and cause-effect relationship. If you remember these two key words, then the concept of objectivist perspective, especially in case of memorization, it will become quite easier for you. So, in objectivist perspective, social reality is viewed as an objective structure which exists independently of individual perception. Here, emphasis is given on universal laws. Laws which are universal, cannot be changed or it cannot be modified. Emphasis is given on that. and cause effect relationship, that the incident it caused this have caused due to this episode, this incident caused, or this uh, impact caused, or and after causing this incident, or after causing any episode, or after a cause, whatever, after a reason, what will be the effect, what will be the impact. Emphasis is given on that in objectivist perspective, and it aligns with quantitative paradigm. There is an alignment with quantitative paradigm and positivist methodology. Positive methodology. Here, these two mediums are followed. Next is subjectivist perspective. Now, in case subjectivist perspective, social reality is viewed as human creation continuously, which is constructed through individual experience. Now, in case of objective perspective, what we saw, that social reality is viewed as an objective structure. But in case of subjectivist perspective, we view social reality as a human creation which is continuously constructed through individual experience. Social reality is viewed in the sense of human creation, which is constructed by individual experiences which he or she gathers in his or her daily life, or in a other perspective. So in case of subjectivist perspective, focus is given on personal meaning, belief and contextual values, and it aligns with qualitative paradigm. In objectivist perspective, we saw that it aligns with quantitative paradigm, but in subjectivist perspective, it aligns with qualitative paradigm and interpretivist methodology. In objectivist perspective, we saw positivist methodology, but here in case of subjectivist perspective, emphasis is given on interpretivist methodology. So if you want to make a difference between this objective, so if you are asked to make a difference between objectivist perspective and subjectivist perspective, I hope by uh, reading, by going through this point, you will be able to make a differentiation between objectivist perspective and subjectivist perspective. Now next we will see purpose and scope of educational research, our main topic of this chapter. Generating evidence-based solution for transformative educational advancement. Now what are the scope of educational research? First is, listen, the main scope is building educational system. Educational research applies scientific inquiry to improving pedagogy, curriculum development, and administrative decision making. So, educational research helps to apply scientific inquiry for improving pedagogy, curriculum development, and in case of decision making in administrative field. It also strengthens the primary, secondary and higher education superstructure by continuously testing and validating new educational models. So by continuously testing and validating new educational models, not only models, new methods, new techniques, it will help to strengthen primary, secondary and higher education structures. which is very essential, especially in today's scenario. Now, what are the key purposes of educational research? First is knowledge generation. Although there are several purposes of educational research, but here I am discussing the basic three key purposes. Now, next, several other purposes are also there. I think that will be clearly mentioned in your book, and also you can also take help from internet also. So there you will get the idea in detail. So here we will discuss the basic purposes of educational research. First purpose is knowledge generation. By expanding the commonwealth of human knowledge to drive technological and pedagogical innovation. So the first purpose of educational research is it expands the commonwealth of human knowledge. It helps to expand human knowledge to drive technological and pedagogical innovation, to make innovations in technology field and also in technology and also in pedagogy. Second is problem solving. It addresses immediate classroom, institutional and systemic educational challenges. By conducting educational research, the immediate problem towards classroom, towards in our classroom, in our institution, and whatever the challenges which are being faced, it helps to address that by it helps to address that issues through educational research. Last is informed decision. It provides policy makers and educators with empirical evidence for effective strategic planning. To make effective planning or to make a foolproof strategy regarding educational, uh, in case of any educational issues or any case of innovation, it provides an empirical evidence to policy makers and educators. So these are the basic purposes of educational research. Several other purposes are also there that will be given in your book, and if you read the book carefully, then you will get a clear idea about this point, about the purpose, about its scope, its nature, etc. The concept will become clearer to you. So here is the end of our discussion. We will meet in the next class with another course code and with another one unit. Till then, stay tuned, stay happy, stay blessed, and also make a comment about the class video, and also give a like to the video, so that more and more new contents, so that I can share with you, and also to make the learning more interesting and more attractive, so that you can achieve your goal. Okay, achieve your goal in the near future. So till then, so stay happy, stay blessed. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you.